Good afternoon. Welcome to Opportunity Home San Antonio's regular board meeting on Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Please note this meeting will be recorded in its entirety. We will now conduct roll call. Chair, Estrella Garcia Diaz. Vice Chair, Leila Powell. Barbara Unkama Burford.
Here.
Gilbert Casillas.
Here.
Janet Garcia.
Here.
Tanika Nikki Johnson.
Here.
Doug Ponick, Board of Commissioners Attorney.
I'm here.
President and CEO Michael Reyes.
Here.
There's also a Spanish interpreter located at the back of the room should you need their support. The quorum has been met. You may now call the meeting to order.
We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The Board of Commissioners or its committee may hold a closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071-076 for consultation concerning attorney-client matters, real estate litigation, personnel, and security matters. The Board or committee reserves the right to enter into closed meeting at any time during the course of the meeting. The time is 1:33 p.m. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
We have one citizen signed up to speak. Richard Cantu.
Okay. Richard Cantu, Blanco Apartments. I want to start by telling the board I've never lied to the board during my 3 previous presentations. This is my 4th time speaking. Saha policy allows clients to speak on any issues, being focused and refrain from making defamatory statements. It's recommended to contact staff directly for a solution. Since November 2024, I repeatedly certified priority and first-class mail documents, including emails, in-person visits, with no action taken. Recently, when starting a petition, staff tore down the leaflets left on the bulletin boards and door clips, disregarding Texas Property Code Section A4. These are just a few policies not taken seriously. Number 1, miscalculations rent payments between Saha statements and the Blanco Apartment receipts. $500 I found, $52 Saha found, with an audit performed by employees who do not work at the property. It's mandated by the HAPC and federal HUD formulas that Saha is supposed to perform a rent reasonableness comparability process to verify this. Saha admits no mistake in inquiries done by Blanco Apartment staff. Surveillance cameras, no footage. Number 2, surveillance cameras, no footage available for Detective Cruz, San Antonio Police Financial Crimes Unit investigating forgery. Saha actively seeks and receives grants from HUD Emergency Safety Security Grants. Victims face legal complications and pending lawsuits without surveillance as evidence for suspecting a person of interest. Nocturnal false fire alarms. Number 3, system failure. Often graveyard shift security in the lobby monitors alarm code. Fire station number 10, logs available, petition active. Roach infestation, Blanco Apartments, negligence, breach of contract by Worldwide Pest Control under the HQS and HAP contract for providing sanitary conditions. Some residents are forced to take action on their own by using boric acid, petition active. Failure to control hazardous and safety policies by allowing infestation. Clients' photos and videos available, no action taken. HUD money is supposed to go to the Blanco Apartments for day-to-day maintenance and pest control. Denying policy for relocating board meetings without notifying clients despite several emails. Posted at SACA, Blanco Apartments, November 5, 2025, Central Office and Saha Newsletter. Not following policy by overlooking transportation information to board meetings. Forcing clients to attend, number 8, forcing clients to attend a board meeting to the far north side with no bus services. Distant hazardous walkway on I-10 access road south to the nearest bus stop, Fiesta, Texas. Construction I-10 access. I paid $60 fare to get there and $60 fare to get back home. Number 9, tuning out clients at community meetings. Often blame clients. I attended 2 meetings. I presented staff with a solution to assist Worldwide Pest Control. Staff took pictures of the product presented, no action taken. Number 10, not investigating federal crime. A person signed for a certified Saha check, then clipped to my front door. Take note, the Director of Legal Services will pursue lawsuits for defamatory seeking inductive, whatever. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That concludes the citizens signed up to speak.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to meeting minutes and approval thereof. Approval of the November 12th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes. Is there any discussion or questions?
I move to approve the minutes for the November 12th, 2025 regular board meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes and is adopted. Can we go ahead and take note that, thank you. You're ahead of me. Okay, we will move on to individual items. Item number 4, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6847, authorizing the award of contracts for electrical maintenance and repair services. Vanessa Caballero, Assistant Director of Procurement; Ruth Bautista, Director of Public Housing; Victoria Phoebus, Director of Affordable Housing Programs.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We're starting today with the request for your consideration and approval of Resolution 6847, which authorizes the award of annual contracts for electrical maintenance and repair services to Central Electric E&T & Co. and Voltron, Inc., DBA Voltron Electric. The contracts will be for a period of 1 year with the option to renew for up to 4 additional terms. In regards to the procurement process, Opportunity Home requires reliable on-demand electrical services organization-wide, covering repairs, upgrades, replacements, maintenance, and installations. Quotes for major projects will also be solicited under this award. To find the best partners for this work, we executed a formal solicitation process. On October 21st, 2025, we issued IFB number 2510-5624. The IFB was published and directly solicited to 128 vendors. After the solicitation closed, we received 2 responses. The bids from Central Electric and Voltron were then evaluated based on standard criteria, including purchase price, quality, reputation, and the extent to which they meet Opportunity Homes' needs, factoring in their past performance. Based on the results of that evaluation, staff are recommending the award of contracts to both respondents, Central Electric E&T & Co. and Voltron, Inc., DBA Voltron Electric. Both firms are headquartered in San Antonio, and both are currently under contract with Opportunity Home, providing continuity of service and proven performance. Moving to the financial impact of this long-term service contract, the estimated annual expenditures for these ongoing electrical maintenance and repair services are approximately $750,000. This figure represents the estimated operational cost for the organization to maintain safe and functional electrical systems across the portfolio. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me why we have chosen to pursue 2 vendors? Is it because of capacity or diversification of?
Correct. Capacity so that we can maintain all properties.
Okay, thank you. And also, on the $750,000 that's projected, is that based on historical need, or is it based on projected need of what you think may be coming up?
I believe it's both. So based on our projections, since they are the incumbents on the contract, so this is based on what we've done the past 5 years.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. I'm going to call for a motion to approve resolution number 6846. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. And we will move on to item number 6. Item number 5. Consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6846, authorizing the award of contract for Casiano Homes roof replacement. Vanessa Caballero, Assistant Director of Procurement; Hector Martinez, Senior Director of Construction Services and Sustainability.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm pleased to bring this item to you for your consideration. This is a request to enter into an agreement with a qualified roofing company to install roofs at 26 buildings at our Casiano Homes apartment community, which is in our public housing portfolio. This is in response to a grant opportunity that was presented to us just this past summer. It was brought to our attention by our CEO, Michael Reyes, and we pursued the grant diligently, and I'm happy to report that we received, it's a $1 million grant to provide a fortified certified roof at Casiano. So fortified is a classification, it's a certification of a particular type of very high-performance durable roof. It's encouraged by the Insurance Institute of America. It requires certain certain components of the roof to be installed to meet wind impact standards, to provide a very durable, long-lasting roof. This roof includes a very high-performance, durable peel and stick roof underlayment, a durable 30-year shingle on top of it, other components, some hardware fasteners that are going to provide a very tight roof that will be viable for many decades. And so I'm here to present this to you. We noticed after the documents were put together that the contractor included an allowance of their own that we took back and gave it to ourselves as an owner-controlled contingency that we can utilize as required, as needed, but we control the funds. So I took it out of their bid, added it to our award request, so that will be part of our contingency. So the numbers may be a little bit different, but this is a not-to-exceed amount of $2.6 million. And if there are any technical questions or other questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Otherwise, I can let Vanessa discuss the procurement process.
Technical as in with the construction portion of it or the grant funding portion of it?
Both.
Both? Okay. I do have some questions with regard to the grant funding process of it. Could you tell me what type of reporting or monitoring is necessary on the part of Opportunity Home, or is the partner bank going to handle that?
And I'm glad you brought up the bank. The bank was the entity that was required to submit the application for us, and so we were very pleased that they were able to do that for us. And so we're working on a press event and a press release to announce that. They've been very excited for this opportunity. I wanted to point out that Piper Rodriguez is here. She's the grant manager for Opportunity Home. She works in my department in construction services. She led the effort to get this grant, the application in on time. We had a very short notice,
Right.
and Piper made it happen. So correct me if I'm wrong, the certifications we're going to need is at the end of the project. We need a certification from somebody with the credentials to be able to certify it as being a fortified roof. So Belden Roofing, who's the awarded contractor, will be coordinating with the entity that will have to provide the inspections at whatever different phases of construction to ensure that we're meeting the technical specifications.
One more question, and what's the funding structure? Or is it a reimbursement process, or is it an upfront funding?
So we just signed the contract with the bank, or Michael did, and once we get everything set up and we've brought out a contractor and we have our contract with the roofer, they give us the 70% upfront. And then once everything has been completed, they give us 30% of the $1 million. The remaining funds are coming out of the capital fund.
Awesome, thank you.
And perhaps I can mention the procurement process. So we didn't have time to put this out for competitive bids like we like to do, like we normally do. Vanessa's department procurement went through some cooperative agreements, and under the TIPS contract, Belden Roofing was identified as a qualified fortified roofer and as a local vendor.
Maybe one more question.
Sure.
Is there a time frame in which the work has to be completed?
It's the end of July. End of July, which,
That's when it has to be certified, not just
Okay,
actual complete certification must be.
okay.
so if we're given approval today, I have a representative here from Belden Roofing today. We're going to meet right away to kick this project off, most likely in January, and get going on it right away. These type of projects tend to go very quickly.
Okay,
And so I don't see that being a problem at all.
thank you.
Speaking of the representative, I'd like to have him stand and represent his company. You may have recognized that Opportunity Home has a public housing facility called Morris C. Belden, one of our apartment complexes on the northeast side. I thought it was really neat that I kind of tied those two names together. Belden Roofing, Morris C. Belden, where they happen to be the same person, Morris Belden. He has a really interesting story. He fought in World War II under General George S. Patton, came to San Antonio after the war, started Belden Roofing. In 1946, they've been around. So to be around that long, they have to be doing something right. And so Morris Belden was a very prominent business member in San Antonio, a great philanthropist. And so he got his name on one of our public house. And I think it's a pretty cool honor. And to honor his legacy today by our first ever contract with somebody with one of our properties' namesake. So Jacob is here.
Thank you for having us. My name is Jacob. I've been with Belden for over 11 years. I got the privilege to work with two of the Beldens, Morris's son, Mike Belden, and his son, Brad Belden, and the fourth generation is Marshall Belden. So we appreciate it.
Appreciate it very much being here. We will be our 80-year company here in San Antonio next year, so we're really excited about that. This opportunity came from Piper, and again, a really quick turnaround. We're able to get those numbers back, make some visits, and look at the facility. So we're excited for the opportunity. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you.
A quick comment also to thank Wood Forest for bringing this opportunity to us. And I know they've been a great partner to a lot of nonprofits and governmental entities with regard to economic mobility and affordable housing. And then a quick question, should this help us address some of our insurance issues? I know this year there was a little bit of moderation in it, but we've been seeing some real increases in our insurance premiums. And this level of roofing, I would think, would at least be considered a positive as we're going for renewal of policies?
Yes, I would think so. I think it's a great question. I'm not able to speak exactly on the terms of insurance, but it occurred to me as I was looking at all the qualifications of a fortified roof, when I spec out a roof, that is my roof. And so I'm wondering, did we inadvertently meet these qualifications and can maybe apply it to other properties?
So the HAI group at this point, which is our insurer, right, for public housing, does not provide a discount for fortified roofs, but we'll continue to ask. I just went to the board meeting last week, and I can follow up with their staff and see if they are looking into it. But the public housing premiums the increases in the premiums for public housing have generally not been market-driven. We're more right-sizing our valuations, our building valuations, and we're going to continue to look at those valuations to ensure that we have appropriate level of insurance.
Thank you.
Just to be sure, were there any questions about the procurement process? Great. Anything else?
If there are no further questions, I will move for a motion to approve Resolution 6846.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Item number 6, consideration, I'm sorry. Oh. Item number 6, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6844, approving the 2026 Small Area Fair Market Rents Payment Standards and the Project-Based Voucher Program Payment Standards Schedules. Valerie Ochoa, Assistant Director, Assisted Housing Programs.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So Opportunity Home implemented small area FMRs through an MTW activity in 2019, which allows Opportunity Home to set our payment standards outside the normal range of 90 to 110%. We established 10 zip code groups, and what we're proposing is for the 2026 payment standards to be scheduled effective with April recertifications and with vouchers issued after or on January 1st, 2026. Again, this allows us to set payment standards outside the normal range so we can assist more families in the community. The factors we considered when looking through the payment standards, the least possible impact to the HCV families, family choice and power of the voucher, current amount of families served and the impact of payment standard, and minimal financial impact. So here's a map just of Group 1, Group 5, and Group 10. There's, again, remember 10 zip code groups, but we just wanted to focus on these 3 to show you a low zip code group, a middle zip code group, and a higher zip code group. So the blue is Group 1, the gray is Group 5, and orange is Group 10, just so you can get an idea of those particular groups. This slide is representing those groups as well and the amounts that we're proposing for 2026. So as you can see, for Group 1, 0 bedroom shows currently at $747, and so we're proposing for that particular group for 0 bedroom $783. But then you can see in Group 10, as far as like the 3 bedroom, it's at $243.93, but then it has $247.75. So there's a decrease. The majority of the groups are going to show a decrease, except for 9, but those decreases mainly affect to like the larger bedroom size, like the 5s and the 6, and we don't have too many families in that particular grouping, like 10. Even though there is a decrease, we do anticipate a financial impact of $1,024,640 in additional housing assistance payments, an increase of 1.3%, and that has to do with the zip codes also moving. So, for example, 78245, which is in Group 5 right now, is going to move to Group 6, and there are over 465 families in that particular group. So from them moving from Group 5 to Group 6, that is where we're seeing that financial impact. I'm going to go next into the PBV payment standards. So project-based vouchers. In November 2016, the small area FMR market rent final rule mandated certain metropolitan areas, including San Antonio, New Braunfels, to use small area FMRs for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The final rule provided an exception for project-based vouchers, allowing PHAs the option to apply small area FMRs to PVV developments. And we did opt to use the higher of small area FMR, or MAFMRs, for the PVV program. Here is what we're proposing for PVV payment standards for 2026, and we are wanting to set these at 100%. They were previously 90, but now we're going to set them at 100%, and this will help the developments when they're setting their rents. Here we talk about the financial impact. Group 6, higher, I kind of already went over this. Group 6 is higher. We'll use the small FMR payment standards. It allows for this action due to MAFMR is averaging for the area and uses this for tax credit rent setting, which is what I was mentioning. And again, I talked already about how we traditionally had it at 90%, and we're going to 100%. And the financial impact is at $1,065,624 at 9.0% increase. Okay, I will take questions.
Can you explain how the changes in rent are operationalized for existing families in a unit? For example, if a family is in a 3-bedroom unit and we've determined that the small area fair market rent has decreased, that wouldn't impact any existing family in an existing unit.
That's just the max subsidy we would pay on behalf of the resident. They're still going to pay their 27.5% rent based on their gross income rent portion. So, the payment standard is just the max subsidy we'll pay on their behalf.
So my question is more with regard to a family that's already in a unit and the rent for that unit, that we decide that there is a decrease in the SM in the small area fair market rent, and the landlord doesn't feel that there should be a decrease in the small area fair market rent. So what happens at that point?
Okay, so I will take that question. So for the payment standards in the HUD regulations, there is a rule under HOTMA right now that says that if your payment standards change, you do have to change them for the households, even if they're currently housed. It's not just for those that are searching. There is, we have an MPW activity that does let us do it for both increases and decreases to make sure that we're making sure that our budget is not as impacted as severely. So if a person is in a 3-bedroom and that payment standard does go down, we do normally decrease that payment standard. It could or could not affect that residence portion, but we do normally give them a 60-day notice for that processing so that they could work with that landlord if they need to either determine whether or not they can stay in that unit if they need to move, or if they can afford it, because most of the time we don't do income recertifications for a 3-year period. So if they did have an increase in income, we're not picking that up, and so they might still have that income that they could afford that.
And do we do any tracking about any moves that result from changes to the SMFMR?
Not necessarily, only because the HOTMA rule only came out last year,
Oh, okay.
but we can.
I would just like to know whether we, as these changes are proposed, and I've seen some of the data on rents in San Antonio, and this seems consistent with what I've seen in the multifamily market, because rents are moderating after a number of years of increases. And I certainly don't want us to be overpaying, because then there's fewer support to, fewer dollars to go around. But I would like to know whether we are having any negative impact on family stability by decreasing any of these categories of rent.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
For my clarity, so if a family's portion increases, they're going to get notified that their portion will increase, not at the time of recert or at the time of an ending of a lease, but it could be, you have 30 days, or I don't know how much
We're giving them
notice they would
60.
receive. 60?
60.
So in 60 days, your rent is going to increase. Is there a huge concern with displacement? Because if they can't afford it and they have to move, finding a place is already hard. But then finding one that you can afford is even harder. So is there a concern with how this may displace families?
We're currently already doing this, and I have not come across really anybody concerned about displacement, but if it does happen, of course, we give them all the resources we can to assist them with trying to find a more affordable unit now that, unfortunately their rent's increased. But currently, I have not seen too many, very, very, very few have asked about.
I'll just add to that. So some of the decreases are not as significant. The ones that you will see in this groupings that are significant, we actually don't have any families in those groupings. So like those 6 bedrooms that you see, in some of the group 10, we have 0 families in that grouping. And so that's why we did make those changes. So when we talked about the factors of how it affects families, the ones that we mainly went for the bigger changes was going to be like $24, $15, in order to try to the least impact on our budget, but also it is still decreasing the amounts. And so we do look at that, but we also talk with the landlords on some of those. Like we noticed the market is going down. Would you work with your resident in order to try to lower your rent slightly for that if you haven't requested a rental increase? Or we might do a rent reasonableness test on your unit, and if your rent went down, we're lowering your rent either way. So there's different things that we do try to look at in order to try to mitigate those circumstances. But to what she was stating, we haven't had as many because most of the families for this last one, the decrease was minimal unless they were in a unit size that they did not qualify for. So if I was in a 3-bedroom unit, but I was by myself and I had a 1-bedroom voucher and my voucher decreased, those were the ones that we were mainly seeing that I can't afford that change. But we told you 3 years ago that you wouldn't qualify for that unit, but you decided to stay and that you could afford it. So those are the harder conversations we have, but it's because they don't qualify for the unit that they're in.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, if I can just add, on the project-based vouchers, you see there is an increase in the payment standards. And I just want to remind the board that many of our housing partners, including Sam's Ministries and the San Antonio Housing Trust, are recipients of our project-based vouchers, which means their developments are going to see an increase in payment standards. So indirectly, they're going to see an increased subsidy to ensure that their expenses are met.
Any additional questions? Okay, thank you. I am going to call for a motion to approve Resolution 6844. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you. I'm going to move on to item number 7, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6845, authorizing the revised utility allowance schedules for tenant-furnished utilities and other services for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Valerie Ochoa.
The utility allowance is required, and we conduct it annually, the assessment for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. We have to make sure we assess it annually, see if there's a 10% decrease or any type of change in the utility allowance at 10%. Opportunity Home must assess tenant-furnished utilities and other services in effort to determine if there's a 10% or more change. So flat utilities is a schedule established by Opportunity Home that is based on the averaging of utilities and services necessary to provide housing that complies with HQS. Through the MTW activity 2014, Opportunity Home established new simplified utility allowance schedule that is based on analysis data collected from organizations' existing HCV portfolio. Non-flat utility allowance is a schedule tied to a specific property receiving assistance that is not under the MTW calculation. The flat UA schedule, staff projects a decrease to annual housing assistance payments by 37% for the HCV program. Non-flat UA schedule, staff projects an average decrease to annual HAP of 5%. This is a proposal. So if you see here, 2023 flat UA schedule, for a one bedroom, it's 99, and we're proposing for the one bedroom as showing at 85. Also, I want to note that during the analysis and study, it's found that a lot of energy efficient units are being made. And so that's another reason why it's coming out to show as a decrease due to the analysis. And there's also programs in the community helping families like smart thermostats, newer windows, installation. Here's also the example from 172 is a max utility allowance for non-flat, and 216 is for a one bedroom for non-flat. Again, for non-flat, that is tied to the actual unit. So for example, if gas is 50 for that unit, that's what it's going to be. Again, it shows a little higher because in previous years, there was bottled gas for non-flat, extremely high, and none of the units with non-flat have bottled gas anymore.
So just to be clear, the conditions at the properties that this actual data is taken from have changed?
Yes.
You're talking about an energy efficient properties. A lot of our properties are not. You know, sometimes they're hard to keep cool, sometimes heat in the winter because the windows aren't proper windows and stuff like that. So you're lowering, but yet they're still using more energy. And also, we had a presentation on this probably about 4 months ago, so you're changing the electric rates again? Or was that something different?
So the previous one was for public housing. These are Section 8 utility allowances. And so the flat utility allowance is a study that's done across the city of San Antonio for rental, Section 8 rental and regular rental communities. So it takes houses, high rises, low rises across the different communities, row homes.
Okay.
And so with that study, when they did those, a lot of properties out there have weatherization that was done, smart weathers. The non-flat side is like our, we have a specific program called moderate rehab rehabilitation, and it's a property that has a specific contract They're not really around anymore. And we used to have like 3 or 4 of them. We only have 1 left. And so the non-flat is tied specifically to the utility consumption tied to that property type. And because those other properties are gone, previously we just gave you the highest. So we take all the properties and whichever one had the highest utility consumption, that's what we would give you as the board. Because we only have that 1 contract, that's why you see that such a significant decrease on that non-flat side. But the flat side is the city-wide and not public housing representative.
My bad.
That's okay.
There was mention of a hardship or a special program status that's available. How do we notify our residents of that, and how do they qualify for that?
On the final rent change notices we send, at the bottom, it tells them to contact us for an informal conference anytime they're experiencing some type of hardship. And we'll schedule that as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
One more question about the calculation on the proposed maximums on the non-flat. Is that based on, I understand that you said in past years, we took the highest value and said that's the, so, and that this is based on some type of averaging or some type of, no.
Sorry. On the non-flat side, so there are different types. If you look at, so there's electricity, and they would do like air conditioning, if it was gas or electric air conditioning. If it's for stove, if it's electric or gas. So there's different types of utility consumptions. And so bottled gas, if you were using that for stove, previously it was like $327 for a monthly consumption. For different units. And so what you do is you take whatever that property uses, if it's air conditioning, central AC, if they have boilers, whatever that type is, whatever that specific actual consumption amount, it's not an averaging, it's the actual amount from the study that they do for that type of property. So if it's a high rise, they have all specific amounts. If it's a low rise, it has specific amounts for each of those utility consumptions. It's the flat utility side is where we take all those different types of properties and all those different utility consumption amounts and then average them together. It's a lot of math on the flat. On the not flat, there's no math.
And you're looking at an average you're looking at a mean as opposed to a median. I'm just concerned that there may be outliers, as the chair was saying.
So when we do on the flat UA, not on the non-flat. On the non-flat, it's specific to the property on the type. On the flat UA, what we do is we take we normally do like the 90% high, and we look at median, mid. We do all the different averaging. So last year, if you look at the slide, it says 2023 was our last utility allowance change. 2024, there was a significant change in utilities. It was actually a 9% decrease on average. But the rule is you don't have to change it unless it's 10% or more. So we decided not to. Just because of, it's still trying times. We wanted to make sure we weren't affecting our residents as much. And so this year, though, it was a significant decrease. It was actually 22% if we went with the mid, like the very averaging mid. We decided to go with 14%, which was 90% high median.
Okay.
In order to make it less of a decrease. It was still a decrease, but we weren't going to go deep decrease.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call for a motion to approve Resolution 6845. Do I have a first?
Some,
And a second?
second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to item number 8, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6850, approving the proposed Opportunity Home San Antonio Strategic Plan Framework for fiscal years 2026 through 2037. Ayana Longoria, Chief Strategy, Data, and Innovation Officer. Welcome.
Thank you so much. So in April, we contracted with CVR and Associates to lead us in a strategic planning effort. This strategic plan has been created with significant input from our residents, our employees, and our partner stakeholders in the community. It will be the foundation of our 10-year strategic plan. As you know, in 10 years, we'll be celebrating our centennial anniversary. So we're very excited to be able to have a very visionary plan that will take us down a 10-year path. As I mentioned, this is the CVR project that they would have been presenting today, let me put it that way. They would have been presenting today, unfortunately, due to the scheduling change. I'll be presenting on their behalf. But we did have Melanie Villalobos-Campbell as the lead on this project, and her associate, Vianney Camarlinga, that helped get all of this work done. So just a quick overview of the process. We went through a discovery phase, which included surveys, a listening session, a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threat, and then we have a summary of that feedback. We went through priority development, that was deciding our final priorities and what would become our goals moving forward. When we had those done, we worked on those, the goal development, which was forming our working groups, who would be the lead on these, who would be assisting in these, looking at data, getting all the materials we needed together to understand what the issues and ideas we wanted to propose were going to be, and then working through presenting them, getting feedback and refining them. They also included action steps and objective developments, because it isn't enough, right, to have the goal. We need to know then what under the goal are we proposing to do. And so as we worked on that, we moved into the filtering phase, which was, again, scrubbing, basically. What was the impact? What are the resources we're going to need? Is it realistic? Are there barriers that we need to think about? Do we have to manage risk? Is there anything we need to consider? And then what happens if we don't take action, right? Again, maybe we decide we can't do this right now, and so we take it off the plan. But is there something that we need to think about, again, as this is a 10-year plan? If we don't do something, is there a bigger impact to not taking action? And then we're at the finalization phase, which is here December 10th, which is where we're finalizing this framework, and then we're going to prepare presentation and the strategic plan from this. So as I mentioned, a high overview of the discovery phase, which started in July. We did listening sessions. And I want to just give a high level of some of the things that came out and what was heard about housing, which was from our residents, we heard they're proud to have quality, affordable housing, which we are also proud to be able to provide. We acknowledge our public housing needs rehab and upgrades. We are also not mindful that there is an increase in construction cost, and of course, funding is a barrier to new construction. We have to focus on renewable energy options, and that's definitely something we're mindful of. We also have been tasked, is it possible, our residents said, can we have units in all areas of the city? Can you put more units across San Antonio? And so definitely that was something we heard loud and clear. Of course, great at housing, do more. And in that charge of do more, there was a call that said, hey, can you guys build 10,000 new units in the next 10 years? And we'll get to what we ended up coming up with for that. What we heard in terms of resident services and our partnerships, that we're great at providing supportive services. We need to tell our own story. We need to position ourselves as the expert in affordable housing here in San Antonio, because we do a lot, and we should be proud of the work that we're doing and make sure that we're promoting and making sure that residents are aware of the partners and programs and services that we offer. We also wanted to make sure that partners are more educated and informed about Opportunity Home, just as well as our residents are. And the last thing that came up that we're actually very excited about, the Power Hour came up a lot in our focus groups, as it's very popular, and they said, keep it up. We like being able to come and hear about what you're doing and learn about your organization. So again, I think those were initial steps that we were taking that already were helping to guide our strategic plan and our work here in the community. And then the last piece, what we heard around technology and staff, was there was definitely cross-training requested. We need more training for our managers and supervisors. But along that same thread, there was an idea that we need to increase the use of technology, specifically for efficiency. And in today's world, we know artificial intelligence, AI, is coming fast and is embedding itself in all of the places that it can. And we need to be ready and train staff and utilize that technology to its full potential. So staff survey, sorry. So a quick high-level overview of our staff survey. What I'm really excited about for this, one was that we did have a really good response from our staff. This was something that CVR sent out the survey on our behalf, collected the results. So completely anonymous for staff to respond to, and we did have a good response. And what's important to note here is that we had 33, almost 34% come from specialist clerical labor, which is our frontline staff. So our frontline staff were eager to share their feedback and give us their thoughts and opinions. When looking at our tenure, again, really critical to see here from those that responded, 42% were in that 1 to 4 year range, so that was our highest percent. And I think that also mirrors what our organizational tenure is looking like. Again, we're leaning towards having younger, newer employees, and so seeing that represented in the survey, again, helped to validate the responses that we received. And then 56% from central office, 44% from the property field. And again, that's a really good response from our field office because typically they don't tend to engage or respond in things. So having that high level, again, helped us feel confident in what we received and what we were hearing from our staff. So through this listening session, what CVR came up with were these survey themes of hope, and they wanted to take, again, the narratives that staff responded and provide them in a way that we could see how they were coming across. And so things that we were doing well, right, our strengths, things that are good and helpful, resident well-being, our new developments, community engagement, empowering our leadership, safety and security, teamwork, professional growth, and then our self-sufficiency and supportive services. So things that leadership is doing well. We're listening to staff. We're improving communication. We're focusing on the future. Again, this 10-year plan certainly is looking long-term, and we're very excited about being open and transparent, involving staff in our decision-making, and encouraging communication and new ideas. For the survey, talking about our investments, where do we need to put our time, energy, and resources into our facilities, into training, into our staff, technology, file management, communication, remote work, support services, and security. Areas for improvement. Now, we didn't say everything was going to be pretty, so we have to acknowledge reality. And so when things come back a little critical, we do have to own it. And so number one here was replace our public housing with new, right? We know we've got an aging infrastructure. We need to do something. Interestingly enough, we had a combination of reduce the number of supportive services, but also increase the number of supportive services that we do well. So we had to think about that a little bit more deeply and understand what was being told to us by staff. Improving interdepartmental communication and collaboration, and improving digital tools, especially including resident intake and recertifications. And things that were employees' top concerns. Again, this shouldn't be a surprise when we see the largest one, the most overwhelming one was the federal funding cuts. Of course, job security, the fear of layoffs, the stable leadership, resident behavior, lack of accountability, compensation, staffing shortages, burnout, lack of career growth, and untrained managers receiving training were their concerns. So all of this, again, was just taken into consideration as we determined our priorities and where we wanted to move forward. And so our 3 priorities became housing. We want to expand and preserve opportunities. Those are going to be based on partnerships and resident services. It also includes advocacy. As we developed, we realized this was a piece that wasn't originally on here. And then innovation. We really want to make sure that staff and operational efficiencies are looked at. So as we moved into the envisioning phase with CVR, that was in August, we had to come together. We had approximately, I think it was almost 70 staff. You'll see these different working groups that came together from different cross sectors of the organization, different positions, different departments, to go through, again, develop the goal. What does it look like, and what are the action steps that we need to take, or the objectives, in order to reach that goal? So again, the goal is our broad primary outcome driven by these priorities that we've identified. The objectives will have measurable targets that we'll use to achieve the goal. And then the action step is, again, those little specific pieces that we need to take to make sure those objectives are moving forward. And so as I mentioned, we've got those 3 very high level. We've got housing, which specifically is develop, acquire, finance, and preserve 14,500 affordable units in a diverse portfolio of housing options, ensuring long-term affordability and stability for all residents of San Antonio. So as I mentioned, we heard in our listening sessions 10,000, and we're like, we see your 10,000, we're going to do 14,500. So we're very excited about this. And again, ambitious, we're looking 10 years down the road. Opportunities, create opportunities that build a collaborative partnership to support our residents, engage our stakeholders, and strengthen our entire community. And then the last one is innovation, enhance innovation and learning that continuously elevates the internal and external customer experience. So getting into the weeds on goal number 1, right? So we have this high-level goal. Now, how are we planning to achieve this? For the first one, we're going to produce 5,500 new units, and this would be done through partnerships. We're looking to acquire 500 affordable units. These would be existing apartments, existing communities, and we would be bringing those into our portfolio. We're looking to preserve and reposition our 6,000 units of public housing. We're looking to preserve and/or redevelop 2,500 of affordable housing communities. These are our own owned and managed communities that we have. And we're looking to partner with government and nonprofit entities for development. Continuing on, we're looking to support the permanent supportive housing in coordination with the city, and we're also looking to support transitional supportive housing in coordination with the city and enhance our asset management portfolio. And one quick note, as I mentioned, we have done an extensive amount of engagement with our stakeholders. And just recently, as of 2 weeks ago, during our last run-through with our partners, sharing with them what our objectives were and what we were planning to do, we had permanent supportive housing on our plan, but we didn't have transitional housing. So again, just being responsive and understanding what is happening through our partners' eyes and what we need to do and how to position ourselves is exactly what this plan is about. So we're just very happy that we have that alignment with our partners and with the city. So under creating opportunities, we want to enhance, design, and deliver impactful resident programs that support residents to thrive. We want to establish and enhance existing relationships with our community partners, build awareness and support of Opportunity Homes services and programs, establish a nonprofit charitable entity to engage in philanthropic support of our Opportunity Home mission, establish Opportunity Homes financial sustainability and resiliency. And then in our last goal, enhance innovation and learning that continuously elevates the internal and external customer experience. This actually has a tagline, which we will provide a blue sky experience, and that is that we will build, learn, unite, and excel. So our objectives under this is to enhance our IT system to provide for resident and employee transactions in a way that is collaborative while streamlining processes. Elevate and complement the way we deliver internal and external strategies using AI and other technology tools. Improve technology that bridges, improve training that bridges technology using hybrid environments that are accessible to all staff. Deliver every interaction and operation with respect, innovation, impact, and accountability. And enhance interdepartmental and external communications and processes to foster clarity, alignment, and trust among stakeholders and staff. And the last one, increase collaboration with organizations to enhance internal and external safety initiatives and resources. So it's a tall order, but I think we're ready. So we're now in the finalizing phase, which is November, December. Here we are. So we conducted our final engagement meetings with employees, residents, and staff. And our next steps are, so this is a framework that was provided to us by CVR, and it will be used to become our strategic plan. What we'll be doing in the next couple of weeks is focusing on ensuring our goals are in alignment with our budget, with our available resources, bringing together the work groups again, and then really drilling into making sure that we have action steps set, our timelines are set, our priorities are set, and working with the City of San Antonio to ensure alignment with the Strategic Housing Implementation Plan, the SHIP, which is also currently going through a refresh right now. And we are looking to launch in January of 2026. All right. Are there any questions?
I do have a comment, and I really appreciate adapting to things like the need for transitional housing, but I want to make sure that we don't lock ourselves into certain categories, given the instability of the federal government and the changes in federal funding streams. And I mean, we all saw what happened with the NOFO that was out for, 3 weeks and then pulled back under lawsuit. And so I don't know that we can plan for what might happen, but just to make sure that in the plan we specify that that we would be give ourselves room to adapt as needed if the federal structures change.
Perfect.
And I have maybe a question, maybe just a comment. But I think that as we move forward utilizing this framework to develop that strategic plan, we really need to keep in mind our MTW plan, our capital plans, as well as our development plans to ensure that they align and that this framework isn't in tension with any of those plans. Additionally, I'd like to see how this framework translates to concrete KPIs and maybe even a board dashboard. So that way we can track performance for us and also internally for our internal stakeholders and our community partners as well.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Commissioners, if I can just add, it's been 13 years since we've had a robust strategic plan. It's a long time coming. We have to move this organization from a 20th century bureaucratic government agency to a robust, innovative 21st century housing provider. And this plan helps set the stage for the next 10 years. It's robust, it's bold, but we have the right team here to get it done. The problem was the last few years, there was no roadmap, there was no pathway to get there. And to the chairwoman's point, there were no deliverable, measurable goals. Now there are, we're putting that together, and so we're really excited about launching this next year.
So are we.
I certainly, to our CEO, I've certainly been hearing kudos from partners, and someone mentioned earlier the positive feedback on the Housing Power Hours, but the engagement of our staff and our leadership with not only traditional housing partners, but with others that are enumerated in this plan that could be of benefit to our residents. It does seem to be a real sea change, and the organizations that we work with in the community at least very much appreciate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. If there are no questions, I'm going to call for a motion to approve Resolution 6850. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. I've got a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Resolution 6850 passes. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 9. Consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6852, authorizing amendments to the Articles of Incorporation and bylaws of the Foundation documents and approving the name change to Opportunity Home Community Fund. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to speak before you today. Regarding the update to what was previously known as the Education Investment Foundation, we have endeavored, as you may know from last board meeting, to update the board materials for the Education Investment Foundation. And we have now updated the board members, and we are coming today to update the bylaws with the amendments for the Articles of Incorporation to reflect all the changes that we need to move forward with this 501c3. And so just as a basic background, the 501c3, originally called the San Antonio Housing Authority Foundation Incorporated, was founded in December of 1991. It operated for charitable purposes to carry out mission of the Housing Authority at that time. It was updated with a name change in 2007 to the Education Investment Foundation, whereby new bylaws were approved at that time. Nothing has happened as far as the corporate structure of the entity until now. In February of 2021, the EIF, or the Education Investment Foundation, ceased to operate at that point, which was during the height of COVID. And we're trying to explore different ways that we could utilize the Education Investment Foundation for fundraising purposes to further the Housing Authority's goals. So with that said, I'm coming to you today to update the bylaws and the Articles of Incorporation to kind of bring the entity up into the 21st century, to bring it into modern times, to include necessary changes that we needed to move forward. So just with a highlight of the articles and the amendments that we have taken here, I just want to go through those real quick with you. Obviously, we're going to, Article 1 is the corporation's name is going to change from San Antonio Housing Authority Foundation, Inc. to Opportunity Home Community Fund, Inc. This decision was made to better reflect what the goal of the entity is. Article 5, the stated purposes are amended and restated to operate exclusively for the benefit of the Housing Authority, also known as Opportunity Home San Antonio. The specific purposes are exclusively charitable, educational, and scientific, with updates to reflect current terminology for housing assistance programs, such as changing residents of projects to residents receiving housing rental assistance, changing Section 8 certificate and voucher programs to housing choice voucher and other housing assistance programs. So it's kind of softened the language as language has evolved to reflect the current times in those particular amendments. In Article 6, the corporation's powers are amended and restated, maintaining a focus on providing financial support, technical assistance, research, and educational efforts to further its charitable, educational, and scientific purposes for lower-income residents and participants. And then Article 9, and I realize I'm going through these really quickly, but I'll be happy to answer whatever questions I can here in a moment. This Article 9, the new provision states that the Board of Directors shall consist of duly appointed members of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority. So essentially, as the members of this board will change, they will be reflected upon the EIF. So we're never left in a state where we cannot operate the charitable foundation, which is where we found ourselves in 2021. And so we've redone that to reflect that current change, which will make an ease of transition as the boards transition in and out to keep that charitable donations flowing towards us, which is what we'd ultimately like. Article 13 is a new article added to ensure corporation compliance with the requirements for a private foundation under Section 509 of the Internal Revenue Code, specifically concerning income distribution, self-dealing, excess business holdings, investments, and taxable expenditures. And lastly, the term articles of incorporation have been replaced with certificate of formation throughout the document. And the corporation will retain all its provisions of the corporation's original articles of incorporation, not explicitly amended or added to include Articles 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 10, 11, and 12. And again, I know this is a very high-level presentation, but I'll be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Any questions? I just want to propose a sort of for instance. I think this, first of all, I'm really excited to see this. This is something that I think members of the Board of Commissioners were concerned that we didn't have this tool in our toolkit in terms of assisting residents. And so specifically, I understand that we can't assist someone who may have a very small need, a resident, but that we could utilize this funding consistent with the guidelines because this will be privately contributed charitable funding as opposed to government dollars, which are much more strictly regulated.
Correct, as I understand it.
So for many, many months, as we were coming out of the pandemic, we heard so much about members of our community, and that was, I think, at a time when we didn't have a great deal of connection with other providers for service, and we didn't have tools to address specific individual needs. And I think a lot of us here felt a little helpless that we had resources, but we couldn't apply them to assist individual residents. And so I think this is very exciting to see the revivification of this entity and the adjustment of the Articles of Incorporation. When we work with nonprofits, and we work with dozens of nonprofits on a regular basis, this is one of the questions we always ask. When was the last time you updated your bylaws, your Articles of Incorporation, so that they are specific to the purposes you need them to serve? So I know this seems like a kind of bureaucratic thing, but to me, this is just really exciting. So,
Right.
so yay.
Right, and I would like to add, I don't want to steal anybody's shine here, but, there have been some significant donations to the foundation already that they've already collected. And so it's hitting the ground running and we are excited to provide some more opportunity to do that for additional fundraising for our tenants and for our different programs.
That's great.
As we may see.
Thank you.
And so at the end of this, I'm going to ask that the documents be signed by the chairwoman. Thank you.
I will call for a motion to approve Resolution 6852. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
We've got a first and second. No additional discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Excuse me. Moving on to item number 10, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6848, authorizing the Las Varas Public Facility Corporation multifamily housing governmental notes, Sacred Heart Villa Apartments, Series 2026. Lorraine Robles, Chief Real Estate and Development Officer.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Lorraine Robles, Chief Real Estate and Development Officer, and I wanted to come up and provide you an opportunity to see the report that we put together, especially for you, Commissioner Johnson. This will be the first time that you're seeing it. So the next two items are regarding development deals, both Sacred Heart Villas as well as Central at Commerce. This chart was developed specifically for the board so that you could follow not only the development process, but also the approval process as it makes its way across in front of you. And so as you provide approvals, we notate that, and it'll show you what the next step is in the process. So this particular chart is for 4% tax credit and bond deals. And those are the two that we have today. The two that we have today have come before you a couple of times. And so today we're actually asking for final approval of the transaction. But you'll see that the chart shows you from inducement, from when we first come to the board to request permission to submit a reservation application for bonds. It'll take you to final approval, through construction, and even through conversion or final endorsement when we actually convert that construction loan to a permanent loan. So this chart is made to keep you abreast of the progress of the project and where it stands within the development and approval process. So I'm going to hand this over to Nick, and he's going to talk to you about Sacred Heart.
If I can. Hello, Commissioners.
Hello.
You can hear me? Okay. I'm a project manager with the Development Services and Neighborhood Revitalization Department. I'm Nicholas Delaney, and today I'm bringing you Sacred Heart Villas Apartments. It's gone to you before, and right now we are just asking for final approval, but I'm going to give you an overview just of where this project sits. So we brought this back to you, or brought it to you to finalize the transaction to issue bonds to the project, tax credit bonds at $12 million. And that was approved on October 1st, 2025 by the board. There was a government shutdown in this time frame. So the project, that affected the critical path of the project to closing. And because of that, that was pending a HUD approval that wasn't granted. And so that delayed the critical path, and the project then wanted to resubmit an application to anticipate closing in the first quarter of 2026 with a new bond reservation. And due to anticipated construction cost increases, the bond amount is now at $15 million. We came to you at a special board meeting on October 15th to meet that deadline to submit an application to be at a higher priority, and that way they would get a closer reservation to closing on that timeline, the new established timeline. That was approved by the board on October 15th, 2025. Today we're just asking for to finalize this transaction and the terms with it. And it's also important to note, still on that same slide, that we are just the bond issuer in this deal. We have no ownership obligation or financial obligation beyond issuing the bonds. As well as this is also a mission-oriented deal, as one of the main goals is that it helps preserve and expand affordable housing in the San Antonio community. And I'll get more into that when we go over the AMIs, and some of you may know. This project was also funded by the City of San Antonio by receiving a $6 million Housing Bond Fund award. Just to give you a recap of where this project is located, it's on the west side of San Antonio at 120 South Trinity Street, San Antonio, Texas. And it is supported by the Historical West Side Residents Association. Within the direct area is Sacred Heart Senior Center, as well as Sacred Heart Catholic Church. And then within a 10-mile radius, it's near downtown San Antonio, inclusive of UTSA downtown campus, as well as the Bazan Branch Library, Lennar High School, and restaurants and retail. Cesar Chavez Foundation, who's here today, if you'd like to speak to them, Ellen Moskalik is here with us. It's the developer of the project. It's currently in City Council District 5. It's part of San Antonio ISD. There's a total of 89 units in this development plan. It's unique in that it's a rehabilitation as well as new construction. So the rehabilitation units are, I believe, 48, I can't quite see, but have it here, units at 60% AMI or below. And then the new construction units, or we're adding new units, are 41 at 50% AMI or below. This is once again, a 4% tax credit and bonds deal. The updated project, our TDC, our total development cost, is now at $27.3 million. So we have a cross-subsidy for targeted affordability, and what that is basically any proceeds or revenue that we get from our projects, we use them for our targeted affordability endeavors, which are listed on the slide right here, such as any assisting in any funding gaps for affordable housing development or providing additional supportive services for residents. Our work benefits the expansion of access to workforce housing, pathways for other opportunities like education, job training, as well as improves access to transportation and other supportive opportunities as well for residents. And just a reminder before I go into questions, this project is targeted to close the first quarter of 2026, so they're on that type of timeline. Is there any questions on this project?
I have a general question, may not be specific to this project, but didn't we just lower the bond finance requirement to 25%, or am I thinking of something else?
I'm not too familiar with that. I don't think so.
And I don't know, I think even if the answer is yes, it wouldn't impact a project that's already in the pipeline, right?
I don't think so, yeah.
And that is correct. And this particular project, because of the delays explained by Nick, is that they're anticipating construction increases by the first quarter of next year. And so in order for us to not have to come back for another approval, we've increased the 12 million to 15 million, and that was done in October at the special board meeting. And so today we're just trying to finalize the final transaction so that they're ready for closing as soon as the bond reservation is in place. We also have Ellen here from the Cesar Chavez Foundation representing the development.
Yeah, and not at all questioning the support for this project, which is a great project, but just thinking about how that might impact our future involvement in other 4% transactions. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Tim.
Any further questions? No? Okay, I'll call for a motion to approve Resolution 6848. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. Thank you, Nick. Item number 11, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6849, approving the acquisition, construction, financing, and operation of a new tax credit project to be known as Central at Commerce. Lorraine Robles. Welcome back.
Thank you. So this is a project that you've seen a couple of times before, and today we're requesting final approval. The deal will be between Union Development Holdings LLC, DBA, the Annex Group, as well as San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation. San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation will be the sole member of the general partner. This project previously received bond approval on October 9th, and then you saw it again on August 6th, where you granted us approval to move forward with the negotiation of an MOU to become the general partner. The project is estimated to close by January 20th. In fact, our bonds expire on January 21st, so we have a hard deadline to meet. What's important about this project is it's the first of its kind for us. Some of you may recall, Ms. Johnson, this is new for you, but earlier this year, the agency underwent an exercise to get bond rated. And so we got an excellent bond rating. And so now we're able to offer or issue our own debt. What does that mean for us and for others or for affordable housing? Is that being able to issue our own debt, investors or purchasers of those bonds are solely basing their interest rate on our agency. It's not the project. It's not the experience of the developer. It's solely on our rating. And in doing so, we're able to get a really low rate. For example, we just asked, what does it look like right now for an agency of our rating? And they said we can probably get 3%, get our money at 3.5%. In turn, we would then relend that money at a point higher or so. In the market, construction loans are going at 6.5% to 7%. So that's a huge savings. What does this mean to a project? This could mean whether it's a go or no-go. We're helping to close that financial gap because it helps with the interest expense, right? You've now lowered that. And so this is the first of its kind for our agency, and we started with Central at Commerce. We've been receiving guidance by our underwriter, Sam Adams at KeyBank, as well as our bond and GP counsel from Coates Rose. Barry Palmer's here today to help answer any detailed questions that I cannot. But again, it's another tool in our toolbox that will help push our projects forward. And we're seeing today, and we'll see the repercussions from the lowering of the 25% on bonds to see what that has, how it affects our projects. But this is another way for us to be able to bring projects to fruition by helping close those financial gaps. Central at Commerce is located at 1231 East Commerce Street. It is actually 2 blocks from the Alamo Dome and the future Sports and Entertainment District. It is also a couple of blocks away from the proposed Silver Rapid Transit line.
Bless you.
Let's see.
It is sitting in City Council District 2. Forgive me. There we go. And it's serviced by San Antonio ISD. It proposes 279 units, from 30% units to 70% units. We're using income averaging so that you'll have a whole host of different levels of incomes living within that property. The unit mix are going to be 1s, 2s, and 3s. And again, it's a 4% tax bond deal. And as Nick explained, the cross subsidy, any funds received or any fees received for our participation in this project will be utilized to support our 50% area median income and below residents and services. Any questions?
Just to comment on that financing structure, utilizing our bond rating as a way of accessing those dollars. I did note in the long-term strategic plan that we seek to expand that capacity and potentially to become more of a player in, not good news for me as a CDFI, but good news for Opportunity Home as an entity that with access to funds at that rate. So I think that that's a significant accomplishment that the organization has undertaken really just since I think Estrita and Barbara and I have been on the board. So I just want to mark that as something that's going to give us a foundation for the future.
Thank you, thank you. And we're doing right now just short-term loans, right? They're during the construction period. And so that's an opportunity for us to turn our money over and help other projects as well as our own.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'll call for a motion to approve Resolution 6849. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our discussion items. Item number 12, update and discussion regarding the quarterly financial report. Aaron Sladek, Senior Director, Finance and Accounting.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today I'll be presenting the financial results for the first quarter ended September 30th, 2025. We do have a new commissioner. Welcome. So I'm going to be a little bit more long-winded than normal in the beginning here. So why do we present this? Well, the purpose of this report is really twofold. So first, we want to give you a clear picture of our actual performance measured against our approved budget. As a side note, we're actually in the middle, or actually at the beginning of our budget process for the fiscal year that'll be ending June 30th, 2027. That sounds very far away, but our budget process is about 8 to 9 months. It'll culminate in asking for your approval in June. So each June we bring the budget to you for approval. And really, the budget serves as a mechanism for measuring our actual performance. Secondly, it's provide accountability and transparency regarding how our resources, including public funding, are being used to support our housing mission and comply with HUD requirements. Public funding-wise, we do receive about 75% of our funding from HUD. Those are federal tax dollars. So this presentation is part of showing that we're responsible stewards of public tax dollars. So I'll be providing a high-level overview of our financial performance, and I'll focus on key drivers and outcomes for the quarter. So our income statement, this is really a two-page here, and we break our income statement into two different sections. So we have an operations segment, so you'll see page 1 of that here with our core housing programs of public housing, Section 8, affordable housing communities. And then that will continue into the central office, which is the management arm for our federal housing programs of public housing in Section 8. As an aside, the affordable housing communities also has a management arm, but it's embedded within that AHC line of business. And then finally, we show our Community Development Initiatives Department, and they're charged with providing resident services. So we'll add all of those 5 lines of business up and report out a total number for operations. And then just stepping ahead to show you what the other income statement looks like. This one we call our capital activities, and we break this out into our real estate services line of business and our capital funds line of business. So jumping into the operations income statement, operations delivered a surplus before non-cash items of $29.9 million. It looks massive, but it was really stemmed from one major transaction that occurred in the first quarter. That was the acquisition of the Amara Apartments. We used $27.4 million of HUD-held funds to acquire that property. The other $27 million of that $54 million acquisition, we used our bond rating, and we issued our first essential function housing bonds. Rounding out that surplus, we had $0.3 million used for public housing operating costs, $0.7 million for community development initiatives, and $0.1 million used to support matching funds for the Mid-Crown Housing Bond Project. So drilling down a little bit here on the revenue side, operating revenue was $1.4 million below budget. This was mainly due to tenant revenue shortfalls in the AHC portfolio, particularly at the Homestead, 100 Labor, San Juan 2, and Cottage Creek properties. Occupancy at these properties ranged from 70 to 89%, with the AHC average at about 84%. Economic occupancy was very strong at 88% for the quarter. And these shortfalls were partially offset by grant revenue that exceeded the budget by $2.4 million. We had $1.4 million in additional Section 8 administrative fees, about $200,000 project-based HAP subsidies, and another $800,000 in additional public housing funding. You'll see that I was on the wrong slide. I'm sorry. I apologize. But going back to Section 8, you'll see a large variance in the Section 8 HAP revenue of $2.8 million. but that was fully offset by lower HAP expenses. So those numbers offset, and that reflects reduced voucher utilization. Moving into operating expenses for operations, you'll see that salaries and benefits were $1.1 million under budget, reflecting vacancies and strong cost management. Other expenses were $1.4 million below budget. This was primarily due to savings on technology, consulting, protective services, and insurance. And then progressing to the capital income statement, we have a surplus deficit for non-cash items of, sorry, there's a glare, 0.4 million, which was below budget by 1.3 million. So in this segment, you'll see that revenue was $0.9 million below budget. This was due to lower than expected development fees and bond issuer fees. This was partially offset by grant revenue timing in the capital fund program. And then their expenses were $0.3 million under budget, mostly from staffing and professional services savings. Balance sheet is a little bit more straightforward. It's combining all lines of business. You'll see here that our total assets and deferred outflows increased by $38.7 million, or 6.4%. Current assets grew by $24.4 million. This was driven primarily by assets held for sale. We have two properties, Costa Valencia and Rosemont Highland Park, that are pending sale right now. So those require an accounting reclassification to held for sale. Fixed assets grew by $69.7 million, mainly due to acquisitions. So the Amara that I mentioned earlier, as well as Elon Gardens. There were new land additions, and there was also an increase in construction in progress. And then the last asset category, other non-current assets, that decreased by $56.1 million due to an allowance for doubtful notes receivable from tax credit partnerships. This is a very large write-down. There are several partnerships that, after reviewing their consecutive last few years of financial audit reports, they're just not generating enough cash flow to repay these notes. So we worked with our auditors to determine an appropriate write-down. I think this is conservative, and it more closely reflects the economic reality of these notes receivable. But I do want to note that this is a non-cash accounting adjustment. It does not impact our operating cash. And then moving to our liabilities and deferred inflows, there's an increase of $35.1 million, or 15.5%. The current liabilities, this rose largely because of the reclassification of debt for those two properties I mentioned earlier, Costa Valencia and Rosemont Highland Park. So when those assets are classified as held for sale, you're required to restate the debt to current portion or payable within 12 months. And then non-current liabilities increased due to those new bonds for Amara that I mentioned earlier, and as well as some other refinancing activities, such as the refinance of Elon Gardens. And then finally, our net position increased by $3.6 million, just under 1%, reflecting the combined impact of asset growth and liability changes. Moving next to some charts. These charts compare our actual versus budget performance for the current and the previous year. You'll see that operating revenue was slightly higher than last year. This increase was driven by higher HAP revenue and tenant revenue, but was partially offset by a drop in miscellaneous revenue. That was mainly due to lower development fees. Operating expenses were up about 3.2% compared to last year, and this one was mainly due to higher HAP expense. These next two charts are going to show some financial ratios. The first one is our debt-to-equity ratio. This measures the organization's total debt compared to its equity. We're looking for anything less than 1 here. A lower ratio indicates less reliance on debt. And in this period, the ratio actually increased from 0.41 to 0.51, but that just means we're taking on a little bit more debt relative to equity. It's something to monitor, but it can also reflect strategic financing decisions. We did acquire the Amara property, which did bring on a significant amount of debt. And the current ratio, this measures our ability to cover short-term obligations. This This decrease from 2.27 to 1.63 looks significant, but again, this was primarily due to reclassifying that debt related to the assets held for sale. And if you were to exclude that reclassified debt, this ratio would actually be 2.72, so a very strong capacity to meet our short-term financial commitments. So really, in summary, our financial position remains strong. We saw that the operations significantly exceeded budget, mainly due to that NCW funding that I went over, as well as effective cost management. The capital results were close to budget, with small variances driven by timing of fees and grants, and the balance sheet growth reflects recent acquisitions, construction activity, and strategic asset management. As far as next steps or things for the board to consider, and keep in mind, we want to continue monitoring tenant revenue performance at the AHC portfolio. Those underperforming properties, we want to keep tracking their rent collections and their occupancy. Any property that's not meeting their expected revenue targets. We want to continue cost control efforts across operations, includes monitoring staffing costs, utilities, maintenance, and professional services to ensure we're using resources effectively. And then one last thing is we want to continue managing our capital projects and debt obligations to ensure strategic growth. So we really want to make sure that all of our new construction, potential acquisitions, our capital projects, we want to make sure they're all carefully planned and funded, and at the same time manage our debt to make sure that we're borrowing responsibly. As at the end of the day, the goal is we want to grow the organization, but we want to be strategic about that and not take on too much financial risk. So this concludes the overview, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. That non-cash write-down, is that due to poor property performance that we're anticipating that that developers would not be able to make good on obligations based on a higher projected occupancy or lower maintenance costs for those properties?
So that's already happened. It's based on historical performance. What's really driving that is it can be twofold. It can be both revenue due to occupancy lagging. It can be due to what I've really seen overwhelmingly is operating expenses, repair and maintenance. The properties are paying a lot more than what was pro forma, 5, 10, 15 years ago. And we see it at a variety of properties. It's not just one. We're seeing it at Durango. We're seeing it at the Wheatley properties, San Juan 3, the Sutton properties. And we're hesitant to, look at 1 year and say, oh, let's make a massive write-down. But this is really based on 3 to 4 years of consecutive net operating losses, no repayments of the notes receivable. Fortunately, I think most of these properties have paid off their development fees. Mm-hmm. We do carry a separate allowance for the development fees that we adjust annually each year based on how the properties are performing. But this is the first time I think that we've had to record an allowance against the notes receivable.
Yeah, that seems like, that is definitely an issue that's been working itself through the portfolio, and that the Board of Commissioners has been paying attention to with regard to elevating the importance of our ability to have control over property management in the short term and asset management in the long term. And I know that's been addressed as new transactions are being brought forward to the commissioners. So interesting to see that show up. That strikes me as a conservative, reasonable thing to do, given what we experienced in the past. I had one more question there. That decrease in revenue from the bond and developer fees, is that a timing issue? Is it a competition issue? Is it an overall market issue? Do we anticipate that trend continuing?
So I want to say some of it's timing issue, but there's only really 2 big properties right now that are going to be earning that development fee, so there's going to be a bit of a lag. Mm-hmm. As Tim and Lorraine and their team bring you more deals, we would expect maybe next year I don't really anticipate that number catching up a whole lot this year. It will somewhat. Yep. It's very early in the year. Because these fees, at least the development fees, they're recognized based on construction milestones. So we'll recognize that development fee as the project hits its construction milestones. The issuer fees, that one I can say is probably just lagging. We just haven't issued the bonds for some of these projects yet. That one I expect to catch up.
And as an issuer, we're competitive with others in the market. Tim?
I'll say yes, but I don't have a long.
Excuse
Bond
me.
issuance fee is consistent with the San Antonio Housing Trust, which is basically the entire market for San Antonio, which is 2% of the bond issuance. We have an agreement with our council that we limit the legal fees to $300,000 per transaction for all bond mixed finance counsel. So if it's a $50 million deal, it's 2%, which is $1 million, and then we see about $700,000 on a typical situation. I don't think the San Antonio Housing Trust actually does limit their fees, but we do.
And do we have any understanding of what the county might be proposing with regard to their recently presented plan for housing?
They just switched council too, because it used to be Summer Great House at Bracewell, and now it's I think of his name right now. But I would say that I'd be very surprised if the fees are not consistent. I haven't heard anything different, but it would be a shock to me because the last thing we want to do is be in competition with each other.
Exactly. It seems appropriate for us to collaborate as opposed
Right.
to, yeah. All right, thank you.
I just want to mention, I think the thing that's going to help us catch up on those fees, not the developer fees, it's the 1% spread on the bonds.
Yes.
Once we issue,
And we can
we'll
put
start
those funds
catching
into
up pretty quickly.
transactions. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have a question regarding our utilization of MTW funds for operational shortfalls. How has the strategy to not be over-reliant on those dollars over the last, and I have the benefit of a couple of years of serving, so I've seen where we have been and where we are now. How has that changed in the last maybe year or so?
For the resident services, that's sort of a fixed type of
Right.
situation, right? There's no additional money coming in from anywhere else. For public housing, Ruth has been doing a great job controlling costs. So the reliance on MTW funds, do you have a slide? For public housing during the current year is significantly lower for two reasons than any other year. They'd only, so the first 3 months have only drawn $300,000, and the budget is around 7.5 for MTW funds. But two things happened, right? They're holding their costs. Secondarily, we applied and received shortfall funding. So there's several $1 million of HUD shortfall funding that has never materialized in the past and is not likely to materialize in the future. So we're working very closely with the budget team, which I consider myself a part of, with Ruth and her team, to continue to control costs. I don't know if there's any commitment to reducing costs below the reliance on MTW funds below the $7.5 million, but if that's a directive from the board, we can work in that direction.
Just a question. I noticed that we were only at 300,000+ with regard to the movement of those dollars, and I just thought it was great effort.
But it's twofold.
So I just wanted to get some clarification as to where we are and why we've been able to manage that.
Right.
Thank
So
you.
it is twofold, right.
Yeah, public housing, at least you'd expect to see, at least based on the ask of MTW, you expect to see 1.8 million there already. So
Okay.
this
Thank
looks
you.
good so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, so in your packet, there's a quarterly cash investment report. There's a grants report as well. The quarterly cash and investment report is required as part of the Public Funds Investment Act, so we need to brief you on any investing activity, what our cash position is. I just didn't plan to present it because I think there's been some back and forth on whether it's required to be presented orally, so just for the sake of, we don't have a separate finance committee meeting anymore, so I had to cut something.
Thank you.
A positive uptick in cash of almost $4 million, quarter-over-quarter.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions?
Thank you, Aaron.
They're not hiding.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll move on to the President's report.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'd like to begin by thanking you and Vice Chair Powell and Commissioner Casillas for joining us last month as we celebrated the achievements of 17 graduates from our Family Self-Sufficiency Program. Among them was our very own Janet Garcia, who delivered an inspiring keynote. Janet, thank you for sharing your powerful story of resiliency and growth. As I mentioned during the celebration, this milestone is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new chapter for you and all of you, the graduates. So congratulations, Commissioner. Next, I'd like to express our gratitude to our partners at the San Antonio City Council District 3 for donating turkeys for our public housing communities. Their generosity brought relief to many families and seniors in the lead up to Thanksgiving. A special thank you to Councilwoman Villagran and her staff for their continued partnership and for helping make the holidays a little brighter for our residents. This week, we implemented several organizational updates to strengthen our support for our residents, programs, and properties. The Assisted Housing Programs Department has adopted a new name, the Housing Voucher Services Department, reflecting the federal program it administers. The Office of Operations Support has concluded its work with the staff transitioning to roles in public housing, the Housing Voucher Services Department, or our new Customer Service Department named the Housing Information Hub, which will manage all external inquiries from applicants, landlords, and the general public. Earlier this year, we talked about elevating customer service, and that's exactly what we're doing. It's now a department, and it has a direct line to the President and CEO directly. Construction Services and Sustainability has moved into the new Capital Projects Division, and the Office of Risk Management has transitioned from the Finance and Accounting Department to become the Risk Management Division within the expanded Asset Management Department, which also includes our Partnerships Division. These updates create a clear alignment across teams and better position us for planning, compliance, long-term capital needs, and overall operational efficiency across the portfolio. I'd like to briefly highlight a few events that continue to build community and uplift our residents and strengthen our partnerships. We're honored to participate in this year's Veterans Day Parade hosted by the U.S. Military Parade Association. It was an opportunity to stand with our community and recognize the veterans who have served our nation. Thank you to Opportunity Home staff who attended and represented the organization with pride and gratitude. Holiday generosity continued at Alazan Apache Courts, where entertainer Jordan Zapata, founder of the Ram Heart Foundation, along with social media personality Adam Ray O'Kay, they gifted turkeys, haircuts, blankets, coats, and toiletries to more than 600 families. These acts of kindness help build stronger and more connected communities. I also had the privilege of meeting with Villa Trencasi residents last month for the Coffee with the CEO. These conversations are deeply important. They help us better understand our residents, our lived experience, their concerns, and their hopes for their community. It was a meaningful dialogue for me, for our leadership staff, and SAPD, and the SAFE officers who joined us. Our final Housing Power Hour of 2025 was centered on our most critical priorities, preserving and strengthening our long-term affordability across our public housing portfolio. We discussed the reinvestment needed to modernize aging communities, support long-term sustainability, and ensure families have access to safe, high-quality homes where they can thrive. It was a strong close to the first year of this series, setting off the tone for what's to come in 2026. I want to recognize Opportunity Home staff and their families who volunteered at the Raul Jimenez Thanksgiving dinner. Their service brought comfort, companionship, and a warm holiday meal to thousands of individuals who might not have anywhere else to go. To everyone who spent part of their holiday serving others, thank you. Your kindness and generosity made a meaningful difference. I'd like to remind the board of our 24th annual Golden Gala, scheduled for next Wednesday. This celebration is our annual tradition for our seniors. At last year's return, after the first one since the pandemic, we filled the entire event space with good, positive energy, dancing, and a sense of real community. I know a few commissioners here were there, and we hope you enjoy the event and join us again this year. If you haven't attended, I encourage you to join this year. Just be sure to bring your dancing shoes. And I know Chairwoman Garcia Diaz didn't have her shoes last year, and it was a rough dance floor. So we just want to make sure your dance shoes are there this year. And finally, this is the final report of 2025. I'd like to summarize the year simply by saying it was a productive, change-making year to strengthen our organization and to prepare it for the future. We have lots in store for 2026, and we're excited about the new year ahead. We're kicking off next month, 2026, by doing three things. Formally launching our 501c3 Opportunity Home Community Fund, thanks to your approval just an hour ago. We're also hosting our 2026 Affordable Housing Outlook, and that's our flagship public policy symposium where we bring stakeholders to the table and talk about future casting, where affordable housing looks like for the remainder of the year. And then most importantly, we launched our Strategy 2037, our centennial vision, our long and highly anticipated strategic plan, which we're excited about. So Chairwoman and Commissioners, that concludes the President's report, but I wanted to add one last thing. I know your time is valuable. I know you guys are doing this on a volunteer basis. You don't have any, there's no limelight to this, and you use a lot of your time and effort to volunteer on this commission, so we're just really grateful for your service this last year. We wanted to give you a small token of our appreciation, so we thought, what better than to celebrate the holidays than to give you some calories? And so we prepared some holiday gift baskets for you. Just know that calories don't count in December, so feel free to enjoy these baskets. It's a small token of our appreciation. And we're really grateful for your service. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, my God. This is all fattening.
Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate all of your hard work and your efforts. The progress that we've made this year and in this fiscal year so far is evident, and it isn't lost on us that it is because of your diligence and your hard work. So thank you, and I will say it personally for me. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm pretty sure that they'd agree. Happy holidays. We wish you all of the best and the most joyous celebrations and New Year.
Can I add just a thank you to the staff here at WC White and to the residents who attended. It's really exciting for us to be out in the community. I know it's a lot more work for staff than just going down to the setting up in the conference room, but it's helpful. It's really helpful to the commissioners and so thank you very much, and specifically to our community manager, Darlene De Ocampo, and the maintenance supervisor, Michael Gray, and Director Ruth Bautista. So thank you very much for hosting us here, and to the residents for attending.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Absolutely.
I'd also like to echo some of the comments that Madam Chair made. 4 years on this board, I've seen a lot of change. And it's thanks to each and every one of you out there. I know some of you are new in your positions, and some of you have been here 20, 30 years. And me being a resident of this organization, I thank you all. And in the last year, with the changes that have been made, have been very positive. And I want to thank Michael for that. I know in conversations before you got this position that you always mentioned that you had a plan, and you're putting that plan to work, and it's positive. And I hope that the staff here continues to support Michael in the vision to take this organization forward for all of our residents, that they have a safe and nice place to live. So thanks to each and every one of you.
Any more comments? Again, thank you, everybody. I will now recess for the regular board meeting and enter into the Las Varas Public Facility Corporation and San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meetings. The time is currently 3:20 p.m. Okay. So I will now open Las Varas Public Facility Corporation meeting. The start time is 3:20 p.m. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
There are no citizens signed up to speak.
Okay, no citizens signed up to speak, so we will move on to meeting minute approvals for November 12, 2025. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I will call for a motion to approve the November 12, 2025 Las Varas Public Facility Corporation meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion passes. We will move on to consent items. And let's see, we have consent items numbers 4 and 5, being that we have already discussed those in the regular board meeting. I will ask for a motion to approve consent items number 4 and 5. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We will go ahead and adjourn Las Varas Public Facility Corporation meeting. Any objections? No? Okay, the time is 3:21, and we are adjourned. Okay, we will move on to the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting. I will go ahead and officially open this meeting, call it to order. The time is currently 3:21 p.m. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
There are no citizens signed up to speak.
Okay, having no citizens signed up to speak, I will move forward with the approval of the November 12th, 2025 San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting minutes. Is there any discussion or questions? Having none, I will ask for a motion to approve the October 1st, 2025 San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Having a first and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We have one consent item, consent item number 4. And again, having already reviewed this during the regular board meeting, I will call for a motion to approve consent item number 4. I request a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Second, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you, it has passed. And we will now adjourn the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting. It is now 3:23 p.m. Okay, and now we will move into closed session.
Okay.
Are you okay?
Madam Chair, members of the board, the board will now convene in closed session under sections 551.074 and 551.071 of the Texas Government Code to consult with its attorney and discuss employee investigation results. The time is now 3:23.
The time is 4:36, and the board has returned to the regular board meeting. All members remain in attendance.
Thank you so much. We actually have no further business, so I'd like to adjourn our meeting, and if there are no objections, no questions, comments, happy holidays, everybody. It is now 4:36 p.m., and our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.